hadn't even finished the first line when the drama teacher glanced down at her clipboard like he was already bored. Not confused, not waiting, just bored. The lights were hot. The script was memorized. Her voice cracked in all the right places, full of heartbreak and fire. She gave the monologue everything, wrung herself dry. Hit every beat with precision and something deeper, something raw. When she finished, it took 3 seconds for anyone to speak. 3 seconds that stretched like rope in a throat. Then the teacher smiled, not kindly, just politely. "Thank you," he said, tapping the clipboard with his pen. "We'll be in touch." No note, no feedback, no praise, just paper and pen and silence. She nodded, stepped off stage, sat in the back of the auditorium while the next girl skipped forward in glittery sneakers and a ponytail too tight to move. She stumbled over the first line, read from the page, laughed at her own mistake. The teacher chuckled with her, said, "No worries, let's try it again." When the cast list went up on the bulletin board the next day, the font looked smaller than usual. Her name was on it, but not near the top, not even in the middle. Tree 2, no lines. She stood there while the crowd cheered around her. The lead role went to Emma. Of course it did. Blonde, sweet, and the daughter of someone who used to do casting work. The teacher clapped her on the back like she had just won an Oscar. "Our Juliet," he said, loud, proud, full of memory for a performance that never deserved the part. She looked at her own name again, Tree, the girl with the 3-minute monologue that made half the room go quiet, reduced to silent scenery. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. She went home, took off the audition outfit she'd sewn herself, folded it carefully, hung it in the back of her closet, then opened her notebook, flipped to a blank page, and wrote 3 words in thick, black ink. "Remember this day," because she would. And they would too, just not yet. The costume was made of felt, brown trunk, green foam leaves glued to a headband. It didn't fit right and smelled faintly of spray adhesive. The sleeves were uneven. Someone in the costume crew apologized, then laughed and said, "Well, it's just a tree." She smiled and said nothing. At rehearsal, she stood at stage left. Her mark was taped down with neon pink tape so she wouldn't accidentally drift too far into the lights. The others ran through lines with music in the background and half-bored expressions. Stumbling over dialogue they barely knew, she knew every word, not just her one line, every cue, every gesture, every missed beat. When Emma forgot her monologue for the 3rd time, she whispered it to herself under her breath, eyes still fixed on the audience seats like it mattered. Her single line came near the end of Act 1. A warning, shouted from the background, 6 words, but she said them with weight, with heartbreak, with urgency, like her roots were deep in the story. Like the whole scene turned on that moment, and for a second, it did. One of the other cast members blinked. Another forgot their entrance. The teacher didn't notice. He had his eyes on Emma again, offering soft encouragement like she was a fragile soap bubble floating across the stage. She didn't miss a single rehearsal. She showed up early, helped tape the floor, moved set pieces during break, read lines with people who didn't remember theirs. She brought snacks once. No one said thank you. They just took them. She kept showing up anyway. Opening night came. The auditorium was full. Parents in too tight suits and middle schoolers in dress shoes shuffled into rows. She stood in the wings, costume straightened, hair pinned back, palms dry. When her line came, she stepped forward, not too forehand, delivered it like it was the climax of a Greek tragedy. No stumble, no smile, just clean, perfect delivery. Then stepped back, trunk stiff, eyes still alive. Later, in the lobby, a woman with silver hair approached her mother. "Excuse me," she said, "who is your daughter playing again?" "Free," her mother said flatly. The woman blinked. "Well, she's incredible." Her mother smiled. "I know." In the corner, the teacher clapped Emma on the back again, called her a star in the making. He never once looked at the tree. But that was fine. She didn't need his praise, didn't need a spotlight to know where she stood. She went home that night and folded the program neatly, tucked it inside her notebook next to the date she had written down weeks ago. Then wrote something new. Scene, background, voice, lead. She was learning how to steal the show with no one watching. For now, the camera wasn't even pointed at her. Someone was trying to film their best friend goofing around during rehearsal, a TikTok or a snap, something throwaway. The frame was shaky, the lighting bad. In the foreground, two cast members in half costumes argued about who missed a line. But in the background, barely noticeable at first, she was crouched beside a painted set wall, brush in hand, humming to herself. The song wasn't part of the show. It was a riff she'd been working on, just a melody from a scene that never made it to the script, something soft, something aching. Her voice poured out like water under the noise, low and smooth, effortless. She didn't know she was being recorded. Didn't know her voice had caught under someone's thumb as they posted a 5-second clip with a laughing emoji and a caption like, "Drama Class Chaos." It uploaded by accident. 12 hours later, it had 80,000 views. By the next day, it hit 1 million. The comments didn't care about the bickering in the foreground. No one was watching the lead stumble through lines or the inside jokes from the popular kids. All anyone noticed was the girl in the background. Who is the girl painting? Is she in the cast? Why does she sound like this? Why wasn't she the lead? Someone cast this girl now. She found out from a text. Her cousin sent her a link at 2 a.m. with nothing but a string of exclamation points and a blown-up screenshot of her face mid-hum, brush hovering above a streak of sky blue. She watched it once, then again, then checked the username, then checked the comments, then sat in her bed staring at the phone while the notifications kept stacking. By morning, her inbox had 24 new messages. One was from a local theater director, another from someone claiming to be a producer's assistant. She thought it was a prank. Until a woman named Mara from a casting agency followed her on Instagram and sent a voice memo. It was short, calm, professional. "Hi there, we saw a clip of you floating around online and were wondering if you'd be open to reading for something. No pressure, we just think there's something about your voice that's worth exploring." She didn't scream, didn't cry. She saved the message, listened to it again, then texted back, "Yes, I'd love to." At school, no one said anything. Not the teacher, not the cast. Emma acted like the clip didn't exist. Like the rest of the world hadn't caught a glimpse of something luminous while they were busy stumbling over blocking. She kept painting the sets, kept showing up, but now she moved differently. Not louder, just clearer. And every now and then, during rehearsal, someone would glance at her just a little longer than before, like maybe they had missed something. The email subject line just said, "Casting opportunity urgent." She almost deleted it. She had gotten a few strange messages after the clip went viral, people trying to sell her coaching programs, a scam account pretending to be an agent, someone offering to boost her TikTok for a fee. She was careful now, cautious. But this one was different. There was no link, no emoji, just an email signature with a production company logo she vaguely recognized and a line that said, "We're casting for a new limited series and would love to see a taped audition." She blinked at the screen. Read it again. Then again. She opened the attachment. It was a scene. A full scene. Real script pages. Not school, play fluff, or an acting contest from YouTube. A monologue and a dialogue sample. The character was bold, funny, sharp, and the story black girl lead, complex family, coming of age that wasn't about trauma, but power. She sat back in her chair, let the paper rest in her lap, then started memorizing. She didn't have a proper ring light, no fancy backdrop. She pinned a white sheet to her closet door with clothespins, balanced her phone on 3 books and a jewelry box. Turned on every lamp in the room to soften the shadows. She did the monologue first. In one take, then the scene. No fake voice, no overacting, just her, holding the script in one hand, eyes steady on the camera, voice clear and low. She didn't flinch, didn't blink. At the end of the scene, she paused, let the silence sit, then reached up and turned off the camera. She almost didn't send it, sat there for 20 minutes, staring at the reply button, but something deeper moved in her ribs. Not confidence, something better. Clarity. She hit send, closed her laptop, went to bed. A week later, the call came. Her mom answered the house phone first, covered the mouthpiece, and yelled, "It's someone from LA!" She took in the hallway, barefoot in pajama pants, hair wrapped, thinking maybe it was a scheduling mistake or someone trying to sell her something again. But it wasn't. It was Mara from the agency. And a showrunner, on speaker. They said thank you, said her tape moved the room, said she was their first pick, that they hadn't even finished watching the rest. "We want you for the lead." She sat down on the floor, didn't speak, didn't cry, just breathed. The paperwork came 3 days later. Digital contract, NDA, release forms. Then came the fittings, the table read, the flight itinerary. The tree had become the center of the story. This time, the spotlight wasn't borrowed. It was hers. Her face hit the internet like a match to gasoline. One morning it wasn't there. The next, it was everywhere. Netflix banners, teaser clips, reaction compilations on TikTok, her voice in trailers, her eyes in thumbnails, her laugh in algorithm-driven autoplay. People started tagging her in edits before she even logged in. The show dropped on a Friday, 10 episodes, full season, no waiting. By noon, her inbox was flooded. Friends she hadn't heard from since middle school sent breathless messages. People she barely remembered were sharing stills of her in character with captions like, "So proud of our girl," and "I went to school with her." Some of them were the same people who once giggled when she walked on stage in a tree costume, the same ones who whispered that she was too dramatic during lunch periods. Now they couldn't retweet her fast enough. She didn't say anything, just turned off her notifications and curled deeper into the couch. Her mom had baked a cake, vanilla with lemon glaze. Her aunt brought over fried rice and egg rolls. Her little cousin had made a poster that said, "Netflix Queen," in glitter glue. They all gathered in the living room, plates full, waiting to hit play. She sat in the center, quiet, hands tucked under her thighs, eyes wide, even though she had already watched every episode twice in final cuts. It still didn't feel real. Seeing her name appear first in the credits, hearing it said aloud in interviews, watching entire plot lines revolve around the character that used to only exist in her bedroom mirror. At school, she heard there was a watch party in the auditorium, the same auditorium where they gave her one line, where the teacher told her, "We're going in a different direction." Now he stood at the front of the room, adjusting the volume on the projector, saying things like, "We knew she was special," and "This school is so proud." She wasn't there. She didn't need to be. The students posted photos anyway, of the auditorium packed, of the teacher with a tight smile, of the screen paused on a close-up of her face. The girl once told to stand still and say her line like a tree was now delivering monologues that made people cry, that made them listen. She stayed home, sat cross-legged on the carpet, popcorn bowl in her lap as her mom wiped away tears and said, "They see you now, baby." She didn't respond, just smiled. Not loud, not smug, just full. Like something had finally settled into place after being held too long in a fist. She watched her pass flicker behind her eyes, the list taped to the bulletin board, the shrugs, the thank you, next, the way no one ever looked up. Now they couldn't look away. The auditorium hadn't changed much. Same stiff chairs, same velvet curtain, same dusty stage lights that flickered before warming up. The carpet still held the imprint of hundreds of sneakers and dance shoes and nerves. She could still smell the faint mix of stage makeup and old paint. But something was different. This time, they invited her to stand center stage. Her name was printed at the top of the program, not in parentheses, not as a footnote. In bold across the top, special guest speaker Netflix lead and alumna. The hallway bulletin board had her photo blown up and laminated, pinned between faded class photos and posters for this year's spring musical. Beneath it, a plaque read, "Distinguished Performing Arts Alum." The same hallway where she once sat alone with her lines, the same stage where she had been handed a felt tree costume and told to stand still. Now, the curtains pulled open just for her. The auditorium filled slowly. Students poured in, talking loudly at first. Teachers guided them toward the middle rows, reminding them to stay quiet and respectful. Some whispered her name. Others nudged their friends and pointed. A few were already pulling up her scenes on their phones. The screen glowed bright in the darkening room. She waited in the wings, hands clasped lightly in front of her, dressed simply. No designer logos, no heels too high to move in, just calm, ready. The principal gave a short introduction, read her accolades from a card. The applause came fast, loud, real. She stepped out into the lights. And for a moment, no one moved. Then the clapping began again. She smiled, not too wide, just enough to hold the room. She didn't waste time, didn't scroll through thank yous or backstories. She began by talking about silence. How it feels to have your best work go unnoticed. How it feels to whisper your dreams and watch people look away. How it feels to give everything you have to a role, a stage, a teacher, and be handed a wall in return. But, she said, her voice steady, no one can dim your light without your permission. The words didn't echo. They landed. She let the silence stretch just enough to make them sit in it. People will overlook you, underestimate you, talk over you. They'll hand the spotlight to someone else and expect you to clap for it. Let them. And while they're busy doing that, you work. You create. You build your own platform. Because one day, they'll be the ones watching from the back row. The room stayed still. Near the back, she caught the face of a student sitting with her script open on her lap, eyes wide, spine straight, a highlighter tucked behind her ear. She looked exactly how she used to look, hopeful, quiet, ready. And 2 rows behind her, the new drama teacher scribbled something into a notebook. She didn't need to know what it said. She had already rewritten the whole stage.